An easy way to say it is decide once and create these non-negotiables so that you can achieve what you want. Hey there, welcome back to Against the Herd. If you're here, you are not average. You're not someone who accepts generic cookie cutter solutions most people settle for, whether it's in business, in athletics, or in your health. You're here because you want real results that last. You want to perform at high levels without being sidelined by pain. You want to lead, you want to win. You want to live fully without compromise. And today I want to break down what I learned sitting across one of the greatest high school coaches of all time, Coach Doug Souls, a man who took not one, but two cross-country teams, one in California, one in Utah, to national dominance in cross country. I think what I want to share with you is I want to share with you the principles that he uses to build champions that are very similar to the ones I use to help heal my clients from chronic pain so that you can reclaim the performance that you want and do the things that you love pain free. So let's get into it. Doug said something in our interview that hit me like a ton of bricks, so to speak. He said, the best athletes eliminate choice. They don't ask if they're going to run today. They've already decided they're all in. And that really applies perfectly to the people who heal the best. You see, when you open up these options, let's call them, these options for giving yourself an out, you end up putting barriers in the way of your progress. When someone comes to me in pain, whether it's chronic pain, shoulder pain, or even mental burnout, one of the first things we look at is how many choices they are still allowing for themselves. Choices, I don't know if you ever heard of the saying, um, analysis by paralysis. And so if you have too many choices, you're not efficient. It's the reason why, actually, you see it right here. This is what I wear every single day. This shirt, black shorts, it's my uniform. Steve Jobs did it. There's something where you don't have to make another decision. You can use that decision brain power for things that matter most. I don't want to have to worry about it. I get up at 4 in the morning and I have lots of things to do. And so what I'm going to wear shouldn't be something that's burning energy and effective energy, really, for that matters. And so, do you know, are you choosing the recovery work or are you choosing scrolling on Instagram? Do you choose between going to bed at 10 or staying up late and watching Netflix? Um, the truth is that when healing is optional, it gets pushed to someday. You know what I'm saying? Like if you give yourself, there's other things that are always going to take priority just because of distraction. Distraction is one of the biggest kryptonites for many of us nowadays, whether it's phone, computer, whatever. There's just so many things vying for our attention. One of my, I think this illustrates, one of my former clients, a business owner, a father of three kids, had been battling hip pain for years. Every therapist gave him heck exercises. He did them for like about a week and then he stopped. Like he'd never really committed to doing what he needed to do. When he finally committed, when we came in and we stripped down and optimized what he needed to do, why it was important for him, and how he could integrate it in the system, that he no longer could opt out of it. Within 2 weeks, he was pain free and back on the trails, able to run, able to move, do the things that he loves pain free. Pain didn't go away because we found some magical exercise. In fact, it went away because we eliminated decision fatigue. We created an environment for success, and we actually found the cause of what was causing all of this so that he can move forward. An easy way to say it is decide once and create these non-negotiables so that you can achieve what you want. I'm trying to think right now, like that interview was powerful. It was such a great interview. If you haven't heard it, it's the one prior to this one. And it was just fascinating to see how his mind thought. And this is the whole reason of why I started Against the Herd, is to tap into the minds and to demonstrate nonconformist thinking so that you're getting excellent results, not average. And if you're following what everyone else is doing, by the very nature, you're getting average results. That's what everyone does. So you are part of the average. That's part of the definition. Excellence is on that final on that bell curve, that final small percentage of the people that excel beyond what everybody else does. So, Doug trains his athletes to own their performance and not to blame weather, not to blame their teammates, not to blame bad luck. Your results are he said, hold on, let me see if I can say this right. Your results are irrelevant if you blame someone else. Plus, you have no recourse for actually improving. See, I see the same thing when I'm working with my clients and we're trying to help them get out of pain. Most people outsource their healing. They say, my doctor didn't help me, the physical therapist didn't fix it, the stretches didn't work, the medicine didn't work. And the thing is that pain is personal, but healing starts with ownership. Is okay, I am ready to do this. And deciding, it starts with a decision, which comes from the ending of decide comes from the same root as homicide. And so to decide is to kill off or to cut off the other decisions so there is more clarity. There's not things vying for your attention. In fact, I had a client of mine. She was a mom, former collegiate athlete. She had shoulder pain. That had her like she couldn't train. She couldn't do the things that she wanted for months. Everyone gave her these banded exercises, but nothing really worked. And when she came to me, one of the things that I wanted to amplify for her is the power of taking ownership, not just for what she was feeling, but for the environment that she was working in, for her stress levels, for her recovery habits. And funny enough, not shocking to me, right? I've seen this for the past 20 years, but shocking to her, when she started doing this, things shifted. Within 2 weeks, her pain had dropped by more than 60%. Like she was like, I can't believe this. I've been stuck for months on the sidelines. And in the past 2 weeks, I feel so much better. And then by 3 weeks, she almost had no pain. She had very little with very specific things. And why? Because and she stepped up and created that leadership, that ownership of her health, her healing. She didn't settle for giving more excuses. She took the plan that we made and made it a habit. Doug talked about setbacks, and I think this is an important part to tie into this because in healing, very often it's rarely a straight line or an incline in progress. There will be setbacks. And what was fascinating is that when I was speaking with Coach Souls, with Doug, the way he spoke about setbacks wasn't like they weren't there to be feared. They were there to be expected. So setbacks are a part of the journey, and what matters is how you respond to it. And when you are able to create a response that serves you and actually aids in the progression, all of a sudden, instead of it feeling like hopelessness, struggle, um, anger, it feels like, oh, I just opened the door to a new opportunity. I just um, am uncovering something new, something that either didn't work or something that needs to be tweaked. And when you look at it through that lens, it now becomes that these setbacks, these injuries become an invitation of learning more about yourself and learning more about growth. It's the body's way of saying something isn't working. It's time to evolve it. Something isn't working. We need to make some changes. Listen, I'm trying to communicate to you that something is off. Um, Let me share this story with another client of mine. This client, over 45 years old, cross country coach, was a Division 1 runner. And, you know, he'd jump into workouts. He wanted to get back into running. He wanted to start running more, I'm not going to say competitive, but he wanted to run faster. He wanted to do things, and he started jumping into workouts with his guys. And at the beginning, it was fine until it wasn't. You know, after one of the workouts, his hip started hurting, his Achilles started hurting, and it basically shut down all the progress that he had made. And so when he came to me angry, frustrated, as you can imagine, right? Like, honestly, ready to quit. Like, hey, am I too old for this? And I love those opportunities to shine a light on what's possible. I also don't fail to see the frustration because I've been there. I've seen my clients go through it. And so it's a very real frustration. It's a very real thing where you're just like, man, like, is that it? Like, am I washed up? Am I done? And what was interesting is that when we use the pain as the data, we we took that pain, we saw what he was doing, we saw how he was moving, and so then we started working on how he was moved. Like we basically rebuilt the way he was moving. We restructured his training, and then we integrated breath work, uh, more clarity on mindset. We focused on foot control. That was a big component. Things he'd never really thought about or done before. And truly, that injury became a turning point for him as, let's call it a master's athlete. 6 weeks later, he was able to get back out there and run with his guys again. No pain. And, you know, pain isn't the end. It's like that fork in the road where you say either I'm going to keep bashing my head, keep doing and not addressing the things, or it's a wake-up call that says, hey, the body's communicating that something is off and we need to make adjustments. We need to figure out what is actually going on, what does the brain need, what does the body? And so you either let it define you or you let it refine you. And I find that so powerful, like you can either take that experience and be like, oh, that's it. I'm a washed up 40-plus-year-old ex-athlete, or you can say, oh, let me learn more about myself. Let me rebuild the chassis, so to speak, both internally and externally, and create the athlete, create the person, create the life that I want. And, you know, fascinating in the conversation that I had with Coach Doug was that we both agree, like at the top level, everyone trains hard. Like the training is rarely the thing. I think what sets apart those that I guess go against the herd, that separate themselves from everyone else, is that they're able to look at the other things. The the few that really shoot out are able to recover well. His team doesn't just run. They they focus on sleep. They hydrate. They track their ferritin, their iron levels. They do core work. They treat recovery as important as the training. And when I look at my highest performing clients, they want to push their bodies, to the limit, but they're drowning in inflammation. They don't have great sleep. Their nervous system is overloaded. And so when they come in that way, what we're doing is we focus on nervous system regulation. So, how do we optimize breath work, daily downshifting? Like, how do you, if you have a pressure cooker, how do you release that pressure so that we can recycle, recover, and put the body in the best state possible so that it can do it again tomorrow? We really look into the sleep, having a sleep routine that you can keep consistently. Hey, are you sleep going to bed at the same time every day, trying to wake up at the same time? Do you have that sleep routine? Make sleeping like part of your profession. Do you sleep like a professional? Um, have you addressed the core as an integrator, as a connector to everything else? Most people, when they look at core, they think of abs, but and very often it's like, oh, I'm just doing a million crunches or leg raises, so it's only happening in one thing. What what I get, what I try to communicate to my clients is that yes, core is important, but not the way you think. You see, the core is what connects the upper part of the body with the lower part of the body. So how do the hips, the spine, the shoulders all tie in together and work to amplify performance, not just work independently of each other or robotically? You need that freedom and the integration of lots of rotation. Rotation is actually the one movement that most people are deficient in. It's the area where neurologically most people have, let's call it, movement blind spots. And so part of integrating the core is how do we get that upper body, the upper body and the lower body to really start working in unison to amplify power, speed, strength, activation, stability, so that you minimize injuries and you optimize movement. And then the other final thing that we look at is strategic loading. It's when I say strategic loading, let's define that a little bit more. So when I'm saying strategic loading, what I'm talking about is how do you progress the stress to your body, whether it's running, lifting, moving, doing whatever else, whether you're doing jujitsu, whether you're decided to go for walks, swims. How do you progress that in such a way that your body can adapt to it and build from it? You see, you're either building steps or you're digging a hole. And too often, especially at the beginning, when you have somebody who does not understand what training, recovery, healing is all about, they think harder is better, but they're not doing the recovery work. And so what they're doing is that they're digging a hole. The top performers, what they're doing is they have building blocks that they're building and they're building steps to grow. They're building step to improve, not digging a trench to to basically head 6 feet under, so to speak. So you don't need to stop training. What you need to do is start recovering with intention. Uh, Again, it's to me, it's important. Like I think about these things all the time, especially when I'm having the conversations with my clients about healing. And one of the directions that we go is this idea of non-negotiables. And so like Doug in our interview talked about his non-negotiables with his athletes, about they show up, there's no excuses, they're all in. That's what he requires from varsity. If you're not ready to do that, then you can be part of the JV team. And when you're ready, then maybe you can move up. And so he has levels, right? Like his national guys, and then the other guys that aren't ready either because they haven't committed or or because they're not up at that level yet. And so I have non-negotiables as well for my clients, for myself, and is number one, you have to be consistent, right? Because consistency brings safety to your brain. Safety to your brains optimizes healing. Healing does not like it hates healing hates chaos. It's a better way of saying it, right? So, you can't just keep throwing stuff all over the place. There's no predictability. The brain kind of freaks out. And so you must be consistent. Number two, you have to be honest with yourself. Are you doing the work? Are you owning it? Every day when I'm with a client, I have to ask myself, hey, am I giving 100%? Am I am I doing the best for this person right now? And it what kills me is when I am and I'm not seeing the progress that I'd like to see for them. I hate seeing people in pain. I don't it frustrates me when we hit a sticking point and it'll take me maybe part of the session to figure out how to go around that sticking point or how to interpret what the body is saying. And because it's always a conversation, and sometimes that conversation isn't always clear. And so we have to give it some time, give a little bit of reset, and then come back at it with fresh eyes. Number three, you have to protect your nervous system. So stress, screen time, poor sleep, they all stack up over time. And if you are not taking ownership of doing that, then any work that we do gets like, what's the word I'm looking at? It's like you're pulling the rug from under. And so you're not going to get the progress, you're not going to get the progression that you really could because all this other stuff is sabotaging your progress. And then the final thing is you have to value the process. And if you don't believe in it, you won't commit to it. And if you don't commit to it, it's definitely not going to work. And the reason is that your intentions matter. Um, because it helps to your intentions create an internal environment for healing, but it also we don't want to be out of alignment. And so if you're like saying, hey, forget this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, I don't trust the process, the likelihood of you being consistent doing it is going to go less. And if that's the case, you're not going to get the results. Um, it reminds me of a quote in Doug's book, and he talks about the difference between junior varsity and varsity. And he says being varsity means you have the honor of doing more. And that applies to healing too. You know, when I work with clients, I, I don't have junior varsity. I have varsity and varsity only. And the reason is that if you're not going to commit 100%, I can't help because there's something greater at stake. And what is at stake is your life. What is at stake is your health. And if you can't commit, I cannot be more committed to it than you. And that's why I require that level of commitment. And there's nothing wrong with questioning things and trying to gain understanding. But if you're not willing to do what's necessary, then you're wasting your money, you're wasting your time, and it may not be a good fit at the moment. And so, you don't get better by doing things that don't matter. So don't trick yourself and like, oh yeah, I'm doing these things. But if those things aren't the things that matter, you're not going to get better. You get better by doing the right things with intention. I hope that makes sense. And actually, let's, what I'd like to do is I want to wrap this up with with what's the word I'm looking for? Like a a summary of the old pain playbook because it's broken. Like usually if you're in pain, if you're injured, that old playbook says rest until it goes away. Do 3 sets of 10. Take some pills. Hope for the best. No, let's rewrite it. In fact, that's what the average does. That's what the masses do. And I take it if you've been listening to this for any amount of time, you're the type of person that wants results. You're the type of person who requires excellence. And so let me just share with you what the new playbook looks like. The one that high performers focus on. And number one is understand the cause, whether it's emotional, systemic, mechanical, spiritual, like all these things play a role. And if we don't really understand what's causing it, then you can't really address it because you end up just chasing symptoms over and over and over again. Number two, create an identity shift. And this is an interesting one because your identity around pain, your identity for you as a person is important for creating that healing. So you're not someone dealing with pain, you're someone becoming unstoppable. All of a sudden, there's something greater. So, like, it, it's the, what is that saying? The one, if you, something like if you reach for the moon and if you fall short, you hit the stars, something like that, right? Like, it's, in other words, have something greater than just, I need to get out of pain. Okay, but why? Why are you trying to get out of pain? Like, what's so important that you want to do, that you want to become, that you want to achieve, that you want to create, that that on those days that you don't feel like it are gonna, like a magnet, attract you to making sure that you stay on course for it. And when you can do that, all of a sudden, you stop being that person just dealing with pain. You now become that person that is choosing to become unstoppable. Number three, install a recovery system that matches your goals, right? Um, there's so many things that you can do to optimize healing, whether it's red light therapy, cold immersion. Um, those are things that people like start focusing on, but they miss sometimes I would say the easier accessible ones that probably have even more impact. Number one, sleep. Have you been paying attention to your sleep hygiene, hydration, your nutrition? Your environment, both the environment that you sleep in, the environment with the people that you're with, the environment that you train with. Man, when you're around people that demand excellence, I can guarantee you that the way you look at things, the way you approach things, all of a sudden changes. When you're in an environment of people want to see you succeed, life seems quite different versus you clawing to be that crab trying to get out of the bucket and you have those other crabs pulling you down. So that recovery system, critical. Number four, move daily. Movement is medicine. So match your movement to the season of healing that you're in. So if you're in a position right now where certain things hurt, it's not like you're doubling down and pushing through that. That's not what I'm saying. But you should be moving in other ways that circulate blood flow, um, oxygenate tissue, get your body to feel better, looser just by moving. And that is also part of the healing process. And the final thing, take ownership, not outsourcing it, not waiting for the perfect. Don't let perfect get in the way of progress. And so when you take ownership, when you no longer outsource it and say, hey, let me start with what I know right now and let me find the who. In this case, if you're coming to me, I'm there to help support that. And so when you take ownership of executing the plan that we've built out for you, all of a sudden you start realizing results significantly faster than someone who doesn't understand what's going on, doesn't have a plan, and is definitely not committed. So you don't need another band-aid. You just need a blueprint, you need a decision, and then you need to execute. Wow. It's fascinating every time I sit down and do one of these podcasts. Just all the things that we get to cover. And sometimes is I just like it's a information vomit. Hopefully it's not overwhelming, but I do this because I really want to share that pain isn't the end. Pain is an invitation for growth. Pain is an invitation for you to improve your relationship with your body and with your health. And my invitation is this. Look, if this episode spoke to you and you're ready to take control of your pain, your performance, here's what I want you to do. Text the word explore to 305-741-0560. Again, text the word explore to 305-741-0560. What that's going to do is we'll be able to communicate and set up an exploration call so that we can uncover what the heck is going on. What is holding you back? Build a clear roadmap to get you out of pain and get you back doing the things that you love and creating and moving towards a direction of unstoppable. You're not here to manage systems. You're here to reclaim your life back. Like get back to living the way you want, pain-free and with confidence. If you haven't done so already, subscribe, hit like, that really helps us out. And it gives you an opportunity to not miss future episodes. And again, this is Against the Herd. I've been Armando. We are not here to settle. We're here to rewrite the rules. Until next time, be relentless, be intentional, be uncommon. Go against the herd.